Well, here we are, folks. It is the 5th of January, and I'm recording this. Is going to be the 6th, hopefully, when you're listening to this. And everybody's back to school and back to work. And it's the big reset and start again and all that kind of stuff. And maybe you're feeling a bit rubbish. Perhaps you are feeling a tad fragile. There is so many things going around in terms of bugs and coughs and colds and flus and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought I would do a little bit of a different podcast today. For those of you who are wondering who I am your host, Vicky Midwood. I am an integrative health, nutrition, lifestyle coach. I'm also a fitness instructor and a bit of a nerd when it comes to how the body functions, i.e. the human body as a whole, not as separate bits. And I normally talk about the unfiltered, raw and real stuff around addiction and reinventing ourselves and really overcoming stuff and challenges. And this kind of does fall into that category, but I think it's so important to recognize that my over and above riding belief is that our health is our wealth. And by wealth, I don't just mean financial wealth. I mean wealth in everything, quality of life, our friendships, our relationships, our community. Our communities are so important. And when the weather is like this, it's really important that we do look out for people who perhaps are not as stable on their feet as we are and who may be a little bit scared of going out in this weather for fear of slipping, or if they drive and they're not very confident, and if they have got snow, then this is obviously a time where, just check in with neighbours, check in with people who perhaps you haven't seen for a day or two, and just make sure that they are okay. I did post my usual blog. My blog comes out on the 3rd or the 4th of the month, depending on what day it falls on, folks. And this month's blog is all about kindness, but it's also about really helping yourself to understand why our manners sometimes are affected by our health. And let's face it, when we don't feel great, often we can feel a little bit short-tempered, a little bit annoyed by people maybe asking if we're okay every 2 minutes. Do we want anything? But also we may just find that just in general, we're just not our usual kind, thoughtful, patient selves. And so really today's podcast is all about just inviting you to talk about not necessarily going all guns blazing into this week in terms of deciding that you are going to eat, in inverted commas, perfectly, or you're going to restrict or go on a diet and start training. And maybe you've got these things on your intention list, your goal list, or whatever. So what I want to talk about is your immune system and how it kind of functions, because what we need to understand, your immune system is really, it mainly lives in your gut. 70% of it lives in your gut. And so what we eat and how our body is digesting and our stress, which massively, I think everybody knows this now, stress massively affects how our digestion and our gut functions, is important. Your whole immune system is not in your throat, it's not in your sinuses, and it is in your gut. And what we need to really think about is, are we nourishing ourselves with good food? And so that doesn't mean cutting out stuff and restricting stuff, unless it's the stuff that causes inflammation or can cause excessive phlegm if you are coughing. So oftentimes dairy can be something that you may want to not have very much of if you are struggling with bunged up sinuses and a cough. So think about, just what you are doing and how you are feeling, because our immune system can only handle so much. And when we have a weakened immune system, it just means that we're more likely or more open to getting the latest bug that's going around. And what does affect our immune system? Well, stress, late nights, unpredictable times of eating, getting up, going out, which many of us may have had over the holidays, and we all do. And so getting back into some kind of rhythm and routine is really what it's about. But it's not about restricting. It's not about creating more stress by putting really powerful expectations on yourself. It's about doing the right stuff. So more of the right stuff and less of the stuff that is going to cause you an issue. And so what I really want to help you to do is to look at this as a bit of a week of a reset, rather than thinking this is the week that determines the rest of the year. I think you need to get into it gently, gradually, and set up some routines that you are able to maintain that are not impossible, that you can actually stick to. So what does that look like realistically? Well, think of it more like a plan that you're going to ease yourself into. It means eating on a regular basis. Now, in an ideal world, that's every 4 hours-ish or thereabouts. So what does that look like? Well, things like breakfast at 8, lunch at 12, have something at 5, and then maybe later on have a small snack or something, perhaps a couple of hours before you go to bed. Now, for a lot of you, those timings won't work. It may be that you're eating at 7 and you want to have something around about 11, and then you want to have something later on, sort of mid-afternoon before you go home. In other words, work around your schedule and your timing, but work on between 3.5 to 4 hours being the ideal time that you want to eat when we're talking about regularly eating. What it's not is eating every hour. What it's not is grazing on stuff, and it's not picking foods. So think about regular meals made up of proteins and fats and fiber. What is fiber? Well, most carbohydrates that come from natural food sources like grains, like fruit, like vegetables, are the carbohydrates that also contain fiber. And if you are feeling run down and the weather is pretty darn cold, this is the perfect time, isn't it? For soups, for stews, for broths, for kind of one pot meals that you can just put everything in. And the beauty about that is whatever you're utilizing in the stock or the water, because you're eating the whole thing, your body is going to get all of the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the phytochemicals, the little tiny nutrients that are required to help the other ones work properly. So my first thing would be to eat enough, to eat regularly, and to eat warm foods where possible. It makes you feel comforted. Use spices, use herbs, make the flavors really good so that you don't need to eat tons to feel satisfied. The most satisfying food we can eat is protein. And so base it around protein and fats, and then your fibers, and then your carbs, but don't cut out any of them. The second thing that I'm going to suggest you do is really focus on getting your sleep back into some kind of a rhythm. Now, if you are working and you're going out to work, or even if you're working from home, it's just easier on yourself and for everybody else for planning, for knowing what you're actually doing and fitting in what you need to fit in during a day, if you actually have a schedule. And if you've got kids, then you're going to have one if they're a school age for sure anyway. So it means going to bed and getting up ideally at the same time. Now, getting up at the same time is really, really important. Your body can handle going to bed at slightly different times, but ideally getting up at the same time creates a good rhythm for the next day. And what we need to recognize is that what we do first thing in the morning will determine how good a night's sleep we get. So the best thing that you can do for yourself is to get out in daylight as early as you possibly can. Now, I'm fully aware it is not light until a little bit later on. But if you are working from home, once the sun has risen, if you can get up and get out in it, just for 30 minutes, that would be brilliant. If you can't manage that, 10 minutes is great. Just walk around the block. Ideally expose some of your skin to the sunlight. Yes, even if it's cloudy, it's going to come through. We know that in the winter, pretty much all of us are going to be lower in our vitamin D from the sun. So helping yourself where possible to expose your skin just for 5 to 10 minutes to the sun in daylight is a good idea. The other thing is, don't be heroic about it, right? Just don't suddenly go, oh, I'm going to go to bed like an hour and a half earlier. If you are planning on going to bed earlier over the next year, then do it incrementally and do it sensibly. And if you want to know how to go about making some of these bigger, more dramatic changes, you do it in baby steps, right? You don't suddenly go to bed an hour and a half earlier. You maybe start off by going to bed 15 minutes earlier. Same thing with getting up. You don't suddenly get up an hour or 2 hours earlier because you suddenly decided that the best time for you to work is first thing in the morning before anybody else gets up, because you will just feel shattered. And if you feel shattered, you will affect your immune system. If you are already feeling run down, you're going to find that you won't be able to stick to it. Therefore, you'll fall out with yourself because you're not doing what you said you're going to do, which creates even more stress, which makes it even harder then just to function. And again, you will still be leaving your immune system wide open to falling prey to whatever is the next bug that comes along. So I'm inviting you to just be sensible, not heroic. Be helpful to your body and to your brain. Get to bed at a reasonable time. Try and get up where possible at the same time every day, including weekends if you can, and get some morning daylight as early as is possible for you. The third thing I'm going to suggest that you do is to reduce the stimulation that you are getting from devices. So what does that mean in simple terms? Well, it means less scrolling on your phone. That's obvious, but also reduce the stimulation from other things too. So that means set yourself up to having to make fewer decisions every single day. It means then that your days become simpler and you are able to focus much more easily. There is a reason why certain people always wear the exact same clothes day in, day out, right? Because it means they don't have to think about what to put on. It's the same reason why a lot of people have the same breakfast and the same lunch day in, day out. Why? Because they don't have to then decide every single day what I'm going to have for breakfast, what am I going to have for lunch. It makes life easy. And this is where setting up routines that work, which is what I said earlier, is what we need to look to do. Not ones that are ridiculous, not ones that are too hard for you to actually implement, but ones that help you to simplify your day and mean that there are fewer decisions that you have to make day in, day out. Because every decision is like a drain on your battery, and every decision is going to deplete you, which is why when it comes to evening times, you may well find that you are just running on autopilot, especially when it comes to things like opening the fridge and just grabbing a beer or a bottle of wine, even if you said, this year I'm going to cut down and I'm not going to keep on doing that. And that is simply because your brain and your battery are done. You've made too many decisions. And so your brain is trying to help you, even though it may not feel like it, by doing what is familiar, what is known, what is automated, because that means you don't have to make any more decisions. And so I'm inviting you, if you do want to make some really positive health changes this year, set yourself up during the day to have to make as fewer decisions as possible, which means plan your day the night before, ideally, and recognize that there are really simple things that you can do to make it easier. I've already mentioned some. Have the same breakfast, have the same lunch, work out if you can, or go to the gym at the same time of day, because that is just what you do, and therefore it changes your identity. And these are the identity shifts that, as you start to implement them and you're doing them because it's helping you to reduce stimulation, you're also recognizing that it's helping you to do what it is you want to do in terms of creating a healthier and happier version of you. So the next thing is exercise. I've just mentioned going to the gym at the same time every day. Do you have to go to the gym? No. And if you're not somebody who's already a regular gym goer, is this time of year the best time to start it? It's cold, it's dark in the mornings, you may be intimidated, you may not be feeling 100%, you may still be feeling a little bit run down and fatigued from the holidays, you may be fighting off something, you may be just getting over or recovering something. So think of what is sensible. Is it actually potentially a better idea to start walking on a regular basis if you're not already doing that? And what does that mean? It doesn't mean set yourself up to go for an hour's walk every day. If you're not a regular walker, one of the best things that you can do for your body, for your brain, for your digestive system and therefore your immune system is to go for a walk after you've eaten. So if you are in a position where you can have breakfast and then go outside in the daylight, in the fresh air, in the sunshine, just for 10 minutes, brilliant. If you can do the same thing after lunch, fantastic. Now, obviously, it's getting darker. And so you won't be able to be out in the daylight after dinner. But if it's safe to do so and you can still walk after dinner, I would really suggest that you do it. And it's an ideal time to get away from sitting in front of the TV, which is maybe what you normally do, and just allowing yourself to maybe go with a friend and having a bit of conversation about something that's lighthearted, that you just feel is a nice change. And this could be the start of you creating some habits that you look forward to doing because you recognize that actually you enjoy them. And that's what it's all about, because we stick to the stuff that we enjoy. We don't stick to the stuff that we tell ourselves we must do, we have to do, we're terrible if we don't do. Punishment is not the way. Criticism is not the way to help us to do things that make us feel, think, and function better. Setting ourselves up with little tasks and having a go and seeing what we'll enjoy and what works for us is the way to do it. So stretching is something that you can maybe do. And I'm a great fan for going onto YouTube and just popping in 5-minute stretch video, right? 5-minute yoga, 5-minute Pilates. Why am I saying 5 minutes? Well, if you're not used to doing any minutes, then 5 minutes is a very, very good start. And if your brain is going, oh, it won't do anything, it's not worth it, I'm going to tell you that is not the case. Because if you do 5 minutes on a daily basis, 5 days of the week, that is 25 minutes more than you have been doing. And you will recognize the benefits over time, because over a month, that adds up. Over 6 months, it's a lot. Over a year, it's a significant amount of time. So please do not think that you have to exercise for 45 minutes or 60 minutes. You don't. Movement is great. Stretching, a little bit of Pilates, just doing 1 or 2 body conditioning exercises just with body weight is a really good way of getting you into moving on a regular basis without overstressing, overtaxing your body. What do I mean by body weight exercises? Something like press-ups on your kitchen counter or against the wall or kneeling on the floor. Something like squats. And if you're not a great squatter, just literally use your toilet. Seriously, sit on the loo and stand up, because if you can sit on the loo like a normal person and not think I'm doing a squat, you are actually squatting. That is the squatting action. It is just literally that action. And if you think your squat form isn't great, go in the bathroom and do it, because chances are your squat form will be fantastic. And the last thing that I'm going to suggest you do, my kind of like point number 5 to helping you to kind of reset your nervous system and get yourself back on form without punishment, without it being realistically unable and unsustainable for you to keep going with, and not using willpower, is this: be compassionately honest with yourself, right? Get rid of this shame narrative, because it really doesn't help. When I was going back and reading a number of the articles that I was looking at in terms of my decision to write the blog that I did, it was based upon a lot of stuff that I was reading around kindness and also around how we don't speak to ourselves very nicely, never mind other people. And it's not just about being kind, it's about being polite, it's about manners as well. And oftentimes we are so nice to other people and we are absolutely horrible to ourselves. And that creates a lot of feelings of guilt and shame. And I'm going to invite you to actually be honest about how you are feeling and what is going on. And it might sound ridiculous, but if you can say it out loud, if you can hear yourself saying, oh, I'm feeling a little bit down, I'm feeling a bit lethargic, I'm feeling a bit unmotivated. When you actually hear yourself saying that, your brain is really excellent at helping you to find a solution. right? If you just say it in your head, you just tend to repeat it and you ruminate it and you might go into why. But when you say it out loud, for whatever reason, the brain is kind of wired to help you to find a solution. And therefore, if you can actually name what's going on, how you're feeling, and even better, say how you would like to feel, your brain will do what your brain does. It will help you to come up with a solution. And so this is where, if we can get rid of the shame narrative and just go, what can I do? How can I? So let's just say I'm feeling lethargic. How can I feel a little bit more energetic? Your brain is going to think of things. There's going to be stuff that will just pop into your head that you can do, whether it is literally changing the room that you're in, whether it is putting something on your phone or on your laptop or on your tablet that is going to make you just tap your toes and move, whether it is something that makes you laugh, that is going to give you some energy, whether it's picking up the phone and having a conversation with somebody. Your brain will think of something. Because here's what we do know is if you are feeling a little bit low and a little bit lethargic and maybe you are fighting something off or you feel like you're coming down with something, your body isn't going to suddenly miraculously feel better if you put yourself under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress to just carry on as normal. So what I need you to kind of take on board, if you will, is look at this week, if you like, as a bit of a reset week rather than a push week, because that is not failure. That is you being a smart, intelligent human. You don't need to restrict to reset, but you do need to regulate. And I will invite you to reread my newsletter. I'll put the link to it in the description if you are watching on YouTube, and in the show notes if you're listening on Apple and on Spotify. And take, even if you just do one or two of these things, the one or two that you feel, do you know what, I can start with them. The two that I would go to, if you are only going to do two, would be the sleep and the eating on a regular basis, warm foods, protein prioritizing, and getting in those regular feeds, but also the regular gaps of not eating in between. Those would be the two out of all of them that I would pick first. Then getting the movement and the sunlight would be my third one. But they're all important, to be quite honest. And what I'm going to say to you is just pick one thing out of the suggestions that I have made and start with that. And if you feel that actually you would like to delve in a little bit more to what is going on for you, perhaps you're recognizing that you do struggle to not scroll. Perhaps you are somebody who knows that when it comes to evening times, you're struggling not to go back to those old patterns of opening a bottle of wine or straight to the fridge for a beer or diving straight into the crisps or biscuits after dinner. And this is the year you're telling yourself you want things to change, but you're already discovering that actually that's not as easy as you thought, especially if you're trying to do the stuff that you've already done before that hasn't worked for you. So if you would like some support on any of that stuff, or on just in general, your health, how your body is feeling, how you are functioning, then please do jump on a call with me. It is free. I don't charge anything. It's not a sales call. I'm here to help you to understand how you can help yourself in a simple, sustainable way that is not too challenging for body or soul. And on that note, I'm going to leave you with this, as I always do. We only have one life, as far as we know, and one body. So please look after it, because it is looking after you. And until next week, be kind to yourself, take care of yourself. Resetting is not a failure, it is intelligence. Take care.